Hi.
Hello, hello, and welcome back to Retrieving Sanity, your podcast for all mental health, addiction, and recovery issues and topics. And today we have our co-host, Simba.
Sombrero.
Sombrero. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting. Now, Simba, I have a problem, right? I got some resentments. What do you think I can do about them?
Trash them.
Trash them?
No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, it depends what kind of resentments, Like how deep rooted is it? Or is it really like a resentment towards like the surface level, what the situation is, or is it like a resentment you've been holding on from childhood?
Is that what you mean by deep-rooted? Like how far back in my past it goes?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
okay, so let's just say I got some that are surface level that are like, I stubbed my toe, I hate this coffee table. And then I've got some that's like, I wasn't loved as I wanted to be. And I just carry that pain with me every now and then. And then I latch onto something or someone. And the next thing I know, I just rip their head off because why not? It happened to me, right?
Because they didn't
I'm
love you
just
the way you wanted him, or
no, it's because I'm justified. I was hurt in the past. Why can't I do that to someone else, right? True.
it's a very negative mindset, but
This is all hypothetical.
yeah. But honestly, it takes a emotionally intelligent person to know that.
Yeah.
I almost worded it emotionally mature with someone, but I think the word mature would have like thrown them off
Because
like,
they weren't intelligent enough.
yeah, emotionally intelligent. It makes a difference.
But so, okay, let's talk about that real quick. What is emotional maturity / intelligence? Because for me, I think maturity it goes along with our mindset, right? So whenever we start using drugs and alcohol, especially in an addictive manner, it actually makes it to where our mental state or mental maturity actually will stunt. It'll be stuck where at that age that we started using it addictively. And then, of course, intelligence doesn't necessarily mean it stunts with maturity. So they are two different things, in my opinion. So what would you say maturity is on a emotional level?
Maturity would
Mm-hmm.
be like not in a sense like how you handle it, but like I guess yeah, because I guess I'm trying to say like responding to a situation versus reacting. You know?
Okay, so responding is kind of like thinking about
What
the
you're gonna say,
situation,
yeah.
and
And
reaction is just
yeah. And see, maturity to me would be like, all right, I'm mad, but I'm not gonna yell. But
mm-hmm.
being emotionally intelligent to me would be like, I'm upset, but I'm upset because of not this scenario, but from the past. But I'm also gonna take in consideration your emotions. So like you involve more than just yourself in this situation.
But that's so much to think about all at once. How do you do that?
Practice.
Practice.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're right because in addiction, and I mean, it doesn't even have to be with addiction. It can be with mental health issues, or it can just be the mindset that someone was raised with. It's all about me, 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 me. So you did me wrong, so it's all about me. But like you said, taking into consideration someone else's viewpoint and their backstory. Maybe someone yelled at me one day, and really what happened was they were just having a bad day because their wife just filed for a divorce. Their dog just got ran over in the same day, and then 2 days before that, grandma died.
Damn.
Like, yeah, I mean, but that kind of thing happens, right? And so people blow up at those kind of situations. But if I
guess
get mad at, go ahead.
yeah, I guess another sign because I was just when you were saying all that, I was like, but you don't always know what the other party's been through.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't know that grandma died, you don't know that their wife, you just know their whatever scenario it is, you know their reaction. You just don't know why they reacted like that. But I think emotion or being intelligent in your own emotions is knowing that there's something else underneath what they're reacting for. You know?
Yeah, so it'd be like, say, someone disrespected me, but it wasn't very much in a direct manner, but it reminded me of something that happened in the past, and I never really let go of that. Say someone didn't hold open a door for me, And last time someone did that years ago, it hit me in my big nose and it broke it, right? So now I'm mad at that person in the past, but now this happened in the future. Well, it happened in the present, and I'm mad at this person that just didn't hold the door open for me. But it's not like they intentionally slammed the door in my face or anything. It's just that they're busy, and I'm remembering a time where it hurt me, right?
Well, I mean, are you gonna hold a resentment towards that person?
No, it's towards the door, man. I mean, but so let's flip the script on that. What if someone did slam the door in my face and a door not being held open for me triggers me, right?
Yeah.
Like, what would your advice be to me on how to avoid getting mad at something as simple as holding a door open for someone or not holding a door open?
Avoid doors and entryways.
So I can only go to automatic doors?
Go through venues, corridors.
But there's got to be a door somewhere, Simba. What do? I can't avoid it.
Allow yourself time and space. Make sure no one's coming in. Make sure you can open up the door yourself.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. I tried to make it deeper, but then I was just like, as I was thinking in my head, I was like, man, that's good. Allow yourself time and space because, and it's not necessarily like erasing everyone around you. It's just saying, all right, I don't see anybody coming. I don't see any, But then I guess that would only work in certain scenarios where the door is see through and you can see.
No, but at the same time, though, you're right. Like, with it being see through, yeah, it could give me time to analyze the situation and stuff, but not every door see through. So what do I do in that fact? I think what it is like you said, it takes practice, and in doing so, I can actually sit there and be like, oh, look, this door, there might be someone on the other side in a hurry, or maybe I just need to approach it with a little bit more caution. And then as I get more comfortable, I don't have to sit there and spend extra energy towards something that's as simple as going towards and opening a door because I'm afraid my nose is going to get broke, right? But have you ever had your nose broke?
No. I've only broken one bone in my whole life.
So sorry. I didn't mean to take a jab at
See,
you.
now, whoa, really? Because we can bring back the last time you took a jab. I mean, because what was it? We were doing step 11 on that presentation, and you were like, "Well, what do you want to do? End up back in treatment?" And everybody was like, "Oh,
that one." I swear, no, it was step 10, but I did not mean to do that.
Bro, no, that was practice. You literally told me to ask the questions.
Anyway, do you hold a resentment towards that?
No, it was funny.
Because my ice cream, man.
You hold a resentment towards that. You got to let that.
I made an amends. I made an amends to you. That's how I let go of that. I said, Simba, I forgive you for eating all of my ice cream.
I saved you some.
That was my amends. I'm sorry that I didn't eat it all before you got to it.
Hey, I saved you some.
I got nothing from that. But yeah, so it does take a whole lot of time and practice to get over even in something as simple as a door not being held open or slammed in my face, right? So what do you think it takes to be a little bit more, let's say, mature about it? Well, not mature about it. Let's mature the situation. So let's say you're used to being in toxic relationships. A lot of people don't actually hold resentments towards their abuser, right? Or sometimes they do, which you have these people that get caught in this cycle, right? And it's kind of because they're holding resentments towards someone or something or themselves and they can't let it go. How does one become emotionally intelligent and mature enough to break that cycle?
So, because of recovery, I always see, and I will always see my part, And
Okay.
I find that when I hold a resentment towards a person, place, or situation, it's because I haven't fully accepted my part or I haven't fully seen that I played a part in it, Like even the broken finger. Of course, it was a situation where I thought I underestimated the strength of a dog. And
you should do that.
No, especially when they're running full force at me.
Mm-hmm.
So my part in it was I underestimated that. I tried to lasso a running dog, and I got the dog, but he got me too. So immediately, like, I knew what part I played in that. I couldn't jump around and cuss out the dog and be like, "That's stupid MF," like, hey, I knew my part in the whole situation, so I hold no resentment toward it.
Yeah.
But I could have back then, and before recovery, I would have been like, "That was such a stupid dog. I don't know why people don't train their dogs." He just took it all out on him because I wouldn't have been able to see what part I played in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I had to get to a mature, emotionally mature person just to see, to instantly know, you know,
Mm-hmm.
not have to go through someone explaining to me, well, maybe you shouldn't have done this, you shouldn't have done that. Immediately, literally, the second I heard the snap and the pop, I was like, I should have just let him run. I
Yep.
should have just let him run.
See, and there's some metaphor in that too, right there. Just let the running dog run. Let lying dogs lie, right? But
Oh.
one thing I have to ask is with the maturity aspect, since we said that addiction and substance use or whatever will stunt a mental state, whenever we stop using and once we're in recovery, once we're doing the steps, once we're actively working and growing, that part of us actually starts to catch back up, if you will. And I think that's one reason a lot of people have a hard time not playing catch up. But the thing is, what signs do you notice whenever you're starting to mature so you can actually act accordingly, so you can respond more instead of react more, or become more intelligent through your maturity?
Oh, again, it was like learning to respond to the situation, to the finger. I knew it was broke. I knew call for help. I knew go get it checked out. Don't panic. Don't, freak out. Don't start a shit show, a big show. But that wasn't always the case. Like, dude, I was always afraid of pain, any type
Mm-hmm.
of pain, emotional pain. If somebody was to, like, last year, um, I went, not, well, I guess it was over a year now. I went through that little emotional turbulence, I guess you could say,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
One, I didn't talk to nobody else about it, which was the stupidest thing in the world. I had a full house of, like, recovering addicts that this is what we were made for. Hey, you were ignoring me.
You ignored me too.
Oh yeah, we went through that weird period.
For like a week. It was a long week.
But now I know how to, even when I'm walking into that door, when I know that there's a door I can't see through, I
Mm-hmm.
know that it's a door. I know that I know the risk that I'm running. Someone could be opening it in a rush, in a hurry, but I need to get to the other side. So
Mm-hmm.
I need to take my chances with as much precaution as I can. And if someone does hit me, it's because I was willing to risk going in.
Ooh,
You know?
that that's some good stuff. But one of the things that you said, I think, can be taken into that overdone aspect, and that's taking precaution. And so it has, of course, its need, it has its value. But what happens whenever you become too cautious? Don't you just create another character defect that instead of taking all the risks and doing everything all the time, now all of a sudden you're being too cautious, so you never do anything, and now you're living underneath a rock essentially?
But luckily, we recovering addicts go through a step system where we work our way out of those fears. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I I'm trying to think of, like, what the normal person, or like people who haven't been through a steps, would use, but
It's hard whenever you haven't been on that side.
I know it. But some people, because I have a friend who, she goes to school and she has like a leadership coach, and she talks to me about that,
Mm.
and I'm like, okay, so, like, there's other, no,
Like a
like, it
mentor.
a mentor. There you go. You kind of walks you through the fear. Doesn't get you through it, because if you're gonna be scared of going through a door, you're gonna be scared of going through a door or getting hit
Mm-hmm.
by a door. But
Yeah.
someone can walk you through that fear, walk with you in that fear. And I mean, some people can take the spiritual road.
Mm-hmm.
So there's ways to get to where you need to go, even with the fear.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can't hold a resentment on the door, or I mean, I guess you can, but would the resentment towards the door really would be a deflection of a resentment to yourself because you're too afraid of the door.
Ooh,
You know?
okay, I see what you're saying. Um, so whenever we sit there and we mature, right? Whenever we realize that we have to take precaution, but we can't take too much precaution, that's maturing right there. But that's also a little bit of intelligence, right? Because our natural instincts as addicts, and we like to sit there and take everything in the extreme, which is why I brought up the whole what about precaution in the extreme? It's just another side effect, right?
Yeah.
Because as an addict myself, I like to sit there and go, here's something, I'm going to latch onto it and I'm just going to run with it. I don't care where it takes me. I'm just going to go with it because obviously it works, right? It works. It feels good. It's doing something more than what it's given me that growth. And like we talked about in our growing pains episode, is that growing can be addictive. And so that's one of those things is that like there's healthy addictions like exercise, meditation, going to church, religious studies, spiritual works, whatever. And then you can do those, but into the extreme. And then they shift from being healthy to unhealthy. And then what difference is that from a substance, right? But I think that kind of lies in the mindset. And I think that's where we're kind of getting at with resentments and emotional intelligence and emotional maturity. Because with that maturity being so young, like most of us started using whenever we were teenagers, man. I don't know about you, but I look at myself now and I'm like, whenever I was a teenager, I thought I knew everything. And now now I'm sitting here and I'm like, I didn't know jack diddly squat.
Wait,
And
but you knew everything you could
up
for
until that point.
your environment, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You have a good point. You are a product of your environment. And so some people run and take off with that, and then some people use that to their advantage, and then some people squander it. But you're right. Right now, as we're saying this, as you're listening, we are as old as we've ever been in this moment, right here. Right? And so it's like, how can I feel older than this? But then whenever I look back, I realized how inexperienced I really was. Everything that I knew was out of conjecture. It was all out of context, and a lot of it is me just putting pieces together and hoping that they fit. And then my addict brain made it go, I can make it work. Watch this. And then I'd make the pieces fit. And then life went there and showed me, hey, bud, that don't work that way. I'm sorry to tell you, but
Well, it's like the age old saying, age and experience will always be youth and energy. Because, you know,
mm-hmm.
the young can have the energy to do things over and over and over, but the experienced are like, you don't even have to do that, you know?
Yeah.
And I guess that was the difference between me back then. Yeah, I could have known everything for my environment back there, but I had no experience in it. Everything I knew in the young ages was don't do this, or if you do that, you do this. It was something that I was taught.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I knew was taught. Was never even a self experienced situation. That's how I ventured off into drugs. Drugs are bad. Don't smoke cigarettes. Then I smoke a cigarette, and I'm like, this is it. And then it turned to marijuana. This is it. Then it turned to drugs. This is it. And then years down the experience train, oh, so they are bad.
Nicotine, you gateway drug.
Uh,
But no, like you have a really good point. How one thing can lead right into another, and experience always beats inexperience. And
yeah,
like that saying, like old man strength. It's not necessarily just physical strength, but the older guy knows how to use his body more than the younger guy, and so he knows the physical leverages and stuff as opposed to a younger guy that's running off of sheer force from one joint versus four, you know.
yeah,
And I think that's one of those things that's really hard to get a grasp on because it works for us in the moment, but then once we start sitting there and finding out like why am I not doing as good as I could, or why am I not doing as well as the other people that seem to be doing the same thing as I am. So that kind of leads me back into the whole fish and the aquarium thing, right? After enough experience, you become the big fish, right? And then you start being the boss. And I think emotional maturity is knowing it's time to leap out of that aquarium and go to another one. But
Yeah,
that's the thing too. It's
and
scary.
also, I guess being humble in that aspect is always knowing that there could still be a bigger fish than you
In you
know,
or around you.
around you.
I think both.
Like, well, I was as soon as you said that, I was like, wait, no, you're right, because like you could always, I guess like I try not to tell myself why, because I've read this book on how you rewire your own mind, and
Mm-hmm.
instead of telling yourself like why am I not where as good as I'm supposed to be, but just tell yourself, oh, I can do better. You
Yeah.
know, it's almost like challenging yourself to do better versus punishing yourself for not doing this what as best as you thought you should have been by now.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Um, and so one thing that I have to say, taking that leap of maturity and intelligence is also scary because it's one of those things that without the experience, you don't know, right? So we're
Well,
kind of go
and
ahead.
think about it. You're now jumping into the old man who was telling you how to do something.
Oh,
You know, and
yeah.
it's probably much lonelier being the person, the teacher, because the students all know better and there's a bunch of them, but then you're
Mm-hmm.
jumping into like, oh, now I'm experienced and I can help someone else, but I didn't, I sure as hell didn't listen, you know.
Mm-hmm. And
So
I think that kind of goes with like becoming the first friend in a circle to get sober. Because like, in a circle of friends, no one's wanting to get sober because no one's willing to take that first step, right?
you know,
And
I've been seeing a lot of things about sobriety in on the Facebook or just social media, and how
it's getting you
everyone,
there.
but I kind of hope it doesn't send the wrong message, because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people post sobriety or recovery is the cool thing now, and I'm like, it's not the
It's
cool thing.
cool.
Like
Yeah.
it's for some people it was the life changer, it was the lifesaver. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
the cool thing. There wasn't cool kids at a table. There was just a level of like, I don't want to live like this anymore, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
it's a great lifestyle. You meet a lot of cool people. It's awesome. But I personally don't agree with the term it's the cool thing to do, because the cool thing is just a trend. You don't
mm-hmm.
want recovery to be a trend where everyone's just jumping in it because they want to, again, be like everybody else around them.
Yeah. And you have a good point because all the cool kids are doing it, right? Just
Yeah.
because it's cool doesn't mean it's the right thing. So let's throw that into the maturity aspect. Instead of it being the cool thing, why not it be the respectful thing to do for yourself, for those around you, for those you've hurt in your addiction? Because, I mean, that's cool in itself. I don't know about you, but respecting myself is a pretty cool thing for me to do, especially nowadays, because I used to not respect myself. And I think anyone that was in active addiction can say the same thing. I'm sorry, but what I was doing was active suicide, and I kept sucking at it somehow.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of a superpower, but I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, well, just even like loving yourself like that,
Ooh, yeah.
that is the hardest thing to do. There was where she has a song that says, there's many different ways that you can kill the one you love. The slowest one is never loving them enough. And I always take her songs into reflection mode, and so I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, the slowest way is never loving them enough. And like
Mm-hmm.
that to me was like self-love, like
Oh,
learning to
yeah.
love myself, but not enough to make a change, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's where you got to respect yourself, and that's where that maturity comes into play. Because then you're sitting there, and it's kind of like, I don't love myself. And I think that all kind of ties back into the humility, and then it jumps back into the scariness because you haven't loved yourself. And now, what happens if you do love yourself? But then I think that also can go back, and but that's the thing, is that this whole of this is interconnected. You can't just work on one aspect without working on another, because if you do, you're going to sit there and find yourself hitting a whole lot more walls and then getting frustrated because you don't know why you're not making as much progress as you want to. But
Here's
then,
what
so
here's the big plot twist. You
uh,
are the
uh,
door. You are the
oh,
door, and you are the one opening the door on the other side.
I was about to say it goes all the way back to a resentment, but you're right. I am the door that hit me in the nose. I am the guy that opened the door too fast and hit myself in the nose. And it's just one thing after another. But I think that kind of leads me into the whole one of the things that I can say about sobriety and recovery is that it's taught me to be grateful. I think that really helps. I wouldn't necessarily say erase my resentments, but it definitely helps clear the way of the fog a little bit for me to see a little bit more clearer so that I can know what the next right step is so I can respond properly to a resentment next time that it crops up. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah.
So, what is gratitude to you? How do you recognize it? What do you do to show it, if you show it? Or do you think about gratitude all the time? Give me your take on gratitude.
So to me, gratitude is, I don't know, like I'm the type of person who like I don't like making a gratitude list because I feel like, well, the reason I say that is if I write down I'm grateful for this, that's the only
Uh-huh.
action I put towards it. Is me writing it down because it it's like it's like the book says, faith without works is dead. I
Mm-hmm.
can say I'm grateful for my parents all
Mm-hmm.
I want, but then I can turn right back around, leave my room and like be condescending to them or just, you know,
Yeah.
and still walk around say, "Oh, I'm so grateful for you guys." You probably in that that aspect, I would just be grateful for what they give me, but not grateful for them. So to
Mm.
me, I like to practice like my gratitude in like small, um, I don't know what you would call it, but like small acts of kindness from
Mm.
something that I've heard, remembered, or foresee. Let's say I notice somebody at work doesn't it keeps slipping. They don't have non-slips. And just getting to know them, I know their financial situation isn't ideal. So I have the finances. I will purchase them non-slip shoes because I'm grateful for the work that they provide and that they still show up. Not being equipped. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and that's my way
Yeah.
of showing that person like, hey, I'm grateful for you. Or
Yeah.
like I'll do something super small, or like we had one person who has lost her partner in 3 years ago, and I was like just in conversation was like, what was his name? So I tried to find something that would help her bring, and it was Steven, and Taylor Swift has a song called Hey Steven, and
Every
she has
time.
a song.
Every time. It doesn't matter.
It was so awesome. So I don't know. Gratitude to me is just making and showing an impactful, like showing it versus saying it or writing it down. But I guess that kind of goes with everything with me. You know, if I
Yeah.
love you, I'm gonna show you. And the thing is, I'm gonna only show you or the ways that I feel like I can. You know,
Okay. Uh-huh.
like I'm not equipped to shower someone with jewels and cars and take them out to eat every day. I'm not built like that, but I'm built to like be there for you, encourage you, push you, and help you through your challenges, as best as I can,
Mhm.
you know?
So you're saying sometimes you're equipped to give, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you're not. Um, Whenever you find yourself in that position to be able to give, you do so freely and willingly and knowing what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And it's the action behind it, but it's that thought too. What if you can't, or what if you won't be grateful? What would that make you? Or do you think that that would cause resentments towards yourself because, okay, so yeah, let's take it like this. Someone that you used to have a resentment for, or maybe you still hold some, but you haven't gone through the amends with them and everything yet. So you still got a little bit. And now they did something for you that you're grateful for, and you want to show them, but you won't. Like, do
Mm.
you see what I'm getting at? Like, it's kind of like, do you take that step of like what would it be, humility? Would
Yeah.
you humble yourself and go and show the gratitude, even though it might like feel real icky and like this ain't right. Like I'm not supposed to do this. But
Uh, have
what
you
would
ever
you
seen
do?
the movie The Color Purple?
I'm colorblind.
That you explained remind me of about because they had a rough relationship from the start, and in the very end, he like paid for her sister's legal fees to come back to America to come see her, and he
Uh,
went from like the worst character to be like, you know,
not too
like
bad.
yeah. But so now I'm thinking about it from her aspect. It's like all that resentment
Ooh.
that she could have held, but then he changed obviously after they split up and
Mm-hmm.
did such a good gesture. Like, it would be hard to be grateful still, Would okay, so if I was in her shoes, I would feel like it was owed to me. Like, I'm not
Or
grateful, you're just paying your debt.
or that he had an ulterior motive.
Yeah, I'd be afraid of that.
Yeah. And so like that right there is shown like where does gratitude really come into play? And like why wouldn't you show that though? Because don't resentments keep us sick?
Resentment
So
is the number one killer for addicts.
it is. And so people that don't go through 4 and 5 or 8 and 9 usually end up going back out, unfortunately. And sometimes that's the last steps that they do, like
Yeah.
ever. I'm not a laughing matter,
No,
like,
it's just the way you said ever, and I'm like,
but I'm serious. Like a
it's
lot of
because
people,
it's
scary, but a lot of people will go back out and do more research because they don't want to do it. But that goes back to the what if someone has done something that you're grateful for and you actually have a lot of respect towards them or something, but you hold a resentment towards them for something and you won't show that gratitude because you're holding on to a resentment too much. I think the thing is that showing some of that gratitude or at least acknowledging it can be the key of getting over a resentment, because like let's say the whole having legs to walk, right? It's
yeah.
something that we have and we take it for granted because we walk all the time. If you don't have legs, I'm sorry. This is no mean, like, just forgive me. Okay. This is out of ignorance.
Resentment.
I can be, okay. I'm sorry. But anyway, like, so whenever I had my broken femur, right? And I couldn't walk for like 6.5 months. Like I could, but not near as much as I wanted to. Um, like I took for granted how much I loved walking. But at some point, if I had been holding on to.
Hurts the Keegan. You sound like that
Okay,
cat off the Instagram. Huh?
okay, hang on. Let me gather my.
I guess there's
Nah.
sometimes like I have to like choose. Almost
Choose.
forcefully, and I guess it goes back to practicing it. Is practicing gratitude is like I have to minimize the situation as far as possible. So like
What do you mean by minimize?
this, how
Oh,
can I be grateful for this?
yeah,
Obviously breaking a finger showed me you kind of need both hands to balance. Tying my
yeah.
shoes, I can't do it as tight as I need to, like it's just
Mm-hmm.
so weird. But like I have trickled it down to where like I'm so grateful for at least the opportunity to be able to heal, you know,
Yeah.
which in
Okay. Yeah.
turn is actually a really big thing. But like right
Yeah.
now, I'm just at least grateful that I'm have a chance for it to heal, that it was a clean
Mm-hmm.
break, it was good.
Yeah. And thank you. You got me back on track. And the that's the thing is that I was taking for granted my legs and being able to walk. That had I held on to the resentment of something happening to me in the past, if I didn't start showing gratitude towards something that I've always had, and now I can see a different angle of it, right? I have a new experience. I have some more emotional maturity and intelligence to go like, man, this really sucks. But at the same time, it helped me change of perspective once I was able to start walking again. But I think showing some of that gratitude is learning how to walk again. it's funny bring up my leg though, because that was one of the things that like put me in a really dark space for a very long time, because I didn't know if I was going to be able to walk normally again. And now you look at me and you would never guess that I have a rod in my femur. But
I
that
don't
was
know. You
because
do walk funny.
I also have a bunion in that same foot. So shut up. Anyways, but anyways, uh, but I did have to actually sit there and force myself to walk again. And so, like you were saying, forcing yourself with that gratitude, it's not easy, but it's one of those things that we, I think we can also be grateful for a lot of things, and we don't even recognize that we are grateful. And so, like you said, we have to force ourselves. Um, so why don't you name a few things that you're grateful for?
Healing.
One.
I'm grateful for, and it's gonna be weird and it's gonna be kind of dark, but like I'm grateful, and I think I've mentioned it before. Is honestly my dad passing because of the way the situation is. He was ill. His life would have been taken a dramatic change if he would have made it through cancer. It would have affected the rest of his life,
Mm-hmm.
and just he was like the anchor for like the whole family.
Yeah.
He was the reason I saw my siblings. He was the reason I was alive, and I'm sure that that's a lot of weight on one person. So it had like multiple things that like kind of benefited or were you guess however you chose to see it. But in the end, he was a good father, he was a good supporter, and he really showed us a good example of what it was like to change your life.
Mm-hmm.
So I was grateful for that because in turn, I was free of having to prove myself to him. I
Mm-hmm.
was free of like, I don't have to, even in recovery, I'm not doing it to prove to my dad that I can make something out of myself. I'm just having to do it. I just have to be something other
Mm-hmm.
than be it for him.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things where like I'm grateful for the way that it happened too, because had it been how some people experience death, where it's just a phone call, oh hey, your dad died, where it's not one of the things where you got to say goodbye, you got to know the day.
And I think that's one of those really hard things too, is to be grateful for someone passing. Um, because I mean, especially in such a way, but I think you were lucky and blessed enough to be able to go about it the way that you and your family did, if that makes sense. So, like you said,
Yeah.
everything makes sense. But I know a lot of people that hear like you're grateful that your dad passed are probably going to be like, "Did he beat you?" And if you are hearing this, just go back and listen a couple of episodes, and you'll understand what we're talking about. But I mean, I'm grateful for a lot of things too, and honestly, I think one of them is like almost any other addict will say that if they're in recovery, is I'm grateful for my addiction. But I'm also grateful that my liver failed on me, because if it wasn't for that, I I'd be dead. And not only that, but I may not be dead, but I damn wish I was, or I didn't. I wish I would have wished that I was dead at this point. If it had been 2.5 years ago, caught up to now without recovery, I'd still be in that same miserable boat. And my liver failing on me was really the keystone. It was the Kickstarter for me getting help. And it's funny because I went to go get a medical detox to get off of alcohol and everything, right? And that's whenever my liver failed. That's whenever my body was like, and you're done. But I mean, that's really what happened. And it happened because I was abusing alcohol for so long that I can probably count on my hands and toes how many times I was actually like really sober for a good amount of time. And 10 years. That's not a lot. And like, so once I went to get that medical detox, my body just ran out of all the alcohol. And that's why hospitals actually have beer on hand to help people that are going through alcohol detox. But they just found me seizing on the floor. And if it wasn't for that, I would not be where I am right now. So it led me to the darkest time in my life. It got me to death and back, and it's helped me get to the other side in both senses. And it really makes me sit there and say, every time I take a breath, I can be a little bit more grateful. But like with my leg, I'm grateful that I can walk. With your finger, I'm grateful that you can heal. I'm glad that we can heal. I'm grateful that we can actually sit here and have these kind of discussions, because I know that for me, they help. For you, I don't know. But I think they help other people that we may never even know. And I think there's a beauty in that too.
I think what we both kind of zeroed in is like being grateful for the hardships. Because it's super easy
Yes.
to be grateful
Mm-hmm.
for the sunny days and the good friends and the easier things to see out of life that are super
Mm-hmm.
easy to be grateful. But it took some grit to be grateful to have my dad pass the way he did.
Mm-hmm.
It took a lot of it, even till this year, to be grateful for even losing my partner to addiction. These things aren't things that you normally see on your gratitude list. Imagine seeing that on group. I'm so grateful my dad died. But I think it shows that you see that, or that we both can see life in a different angle,
Mm-hmm.
which is good, because honestly that's what it kind of took to remain in recovery.
And again, it brings us back to the emotional maturity and intelligence. Because with that old mindset, I'd still be stuck in, oh, boo hoo, poor me, my liver failed. Let me go drink my sorrows away again. But I had a little bit of a epiphany moment, if you will, and was like, oh, I need to change. Just like you had your moment whenever your father passed and you were able to come to terms with it.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not easy. It is the hardships that really make us, but they also break us too. I'm not going to lie. Like those hardships, we make it sound like they were handy dandy, but really, no, they sucked. I'm not going to lie. Every bit of it sucked. But I can look back and I can be grateful that it actually happened, because without it, I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
So we have hit a little bit of something, Simba. We got a list.
I,
We got a list, man. Can you believe it? And guess what it is?
groceries.
That's tomorrow, dude.
What is it?
It's a gratitude list from our listeners.
Let's read it out.
All right. So, the first person is a Kim R. She said, grateful for you and you, Keegan and Simba, for doing this podcast. Can't even imagine the amount of time it takes to air one episode. I truly believe that this will help many people in different ways. Not to mention, I love y'all hearing y'all's voices, laughter, and silly antics. I don't know what she's talking about. Y'all bring a smile to my face. Oh, and my bed. I love laying in my bed with the window open a little and a cool breeze coming through, preferably with some rain. And I'm grateful for clouds. Clouds make me happy. Thank you, Kim Reed.
Wow, way to put her on blast.
Sorry, I don't think she'd be mad.
Um,
And so right there, I want to say that she did do something with adding a little bit of addition of a gratitude. I'm grateful with this and because of this. And I think
right.
that's what we need to do. You got one, right?
Do you want me to read on next?
Yeah.
So next we got Jose C. I guess I get the Hispanics.
I didn't plan it this way, I swear. They just came in this order.
We have a list of I'm grateful for peace and serenity in my life, my wonderful career, that's a big one,
Mm.
my family and friends, my sponsor and my sponsees, my brothers at OH, Oxford House, McCullen, and most importantly, a life free from alcohol.
Oh, that's a big one. And I'm currently in that Oxford house. I feel attacked. I'm on blast. I really feel that last one, those last two, actually that whole list,
Yeah.
because I mean I wouldn't have it without sobriety and recovery. So
Yeah,
I mean,
well, and okay, so for the recovering addict, it's so it's so nice to see that people can go back to being grateful for a life without substance use, because back then when you had those days without the substance, they
couldn't
weren't great.
imagine.
Yeah.
No,
They were
couldn't
nothing to be grateful for.
couldn't even imagine what it was like without it for another 24 hours. That sucked. Don K says, I'm grateful for family, close friends, and my dog. Oh, and smiles. Lots of smiles.
We got a JS who is thank you creator for clean laundry. Yeah.
That's a big one. That is a big one.
Juicy clementines. Those are the little oranges, the like kid oranges. Calls with recovery BFF. My son's hugs, laughs. Thank you, creator, for both of my sponsees, AA and Al Anon. The wisdom that they freely share with me. That my AA sponsor picked up the phone for me tonight. It was needed. I remember those nights. Good recovery meetings. The reminder that even though depression is kicking my, I still have value.
Keep in there, JS. Because,
Yeah, and see that's to me would be like a emotionally intelligence. You know, like yeah, your depression is kicking your ass, but you still have value. And knowing that about yourself, you know, like.
And I think that right there shows a lot of recovery too.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, back in the day, if I was depressed, I was depressed. And this person right here says, the reminder that even though depression is kicking my ass, I still have value. That is recovery right there. And it's showing that depression just, I'm not going to take your crap anymore. You may be beating me down, but I ain't hear no bell yet.
And it gives hope, you know, to those around them that they're able to say, yeah, I'm depressed. But yeah, I know I still have value. Like other people, because other people can tell you everything in the world, but until you see the value in yourself, it's really not valuable.
Big deal. That is a huge truth. So thank you, JS. Michelle Mace M says, sorry. I see it, I read it, it's my last name, I can't help it. I'm grateful for music. It saves my soul, my sanity, and brings me peace. Art in general, the beauty in all spaces are what I live for and love. It can save your life. And I like how she said music and how it saves her soul, her sanity, and brings her peace. Because that right there is also going into the reasoning of being grateful. I think it takes a little bit of that maturity to step beyond the I'm grateful for my hands because of this. And I mean, she has a point with music. Not a lot of people say I'm grateful for music.
A little bit when we're done, I do want to touch on a point because she reminded me of a easier way for me to carry on to the steps with which it deals with music. When that's why, like, I'm so glad somebody did point out music because music is such a great influence to anybody and everybody. But we got Abigail S. She is grateful for her mom, Janet S., for always being there for me and supporting my dreams. Couldn't have done it without her. I'm also grateful for my best friend, Jalen H. and Soraya R. They have been the best friends, family I could ever ask for. And of course, you and my family as well. Y'all have pushed me to the fullest potential and still do, especially with my art career.
And you should check out some of her stuff. She is talented, very talented. And she's come a long way herself too. And she also works with tarot. Okay. It's funny. She was asking me, why do I keep pulling 10 of swords? I was like, because you're not asking the right question. You need to look on the inside. And then she got it right away. I was like, but anyways, Linda S. Warm showers on cold mornings. Coffee. That first cup of Joe with creamer jumpstarts my morning. I think we can all appreciate that. And also, after being in addiction for 10 years, I gotta say that first cup of coffee in the morning and being able to enjoy it, oof. And then watching it with the sunrise, oh, I love doing that. Let's see. All right, next one.
Now we got Janet S., who says, I am grateful for my daughters. Abigail S. She keeps me grounded when I am unwell and lifts my spirits when I am sad. I am grateful for my family that loves and supports me no matter what. I am also grateful for my job and work team. It makes life better and easier when work is not a major hassle. And I can't forget the good cup or two of coffee with homemade soft top. Oh.
I think people just love their coffee. But
uh,
and I like how she brings in the work, but uh, bringing in the team effort because it is a lot easier whenever you have a team. So that's what recovery is. That's what a support system is, and that can be your coworkers, your friends, your families, whoever you want it to be, or whoever you make it to be. All right. Then we have a Storm Lee R. Good morning. I'm grateful to be alive this morning. I'm grateful to be sober. I'm grateful to have a warm house with warm clothes and real food, a hot shower, because I didn't have those things when I was using. I was a dumpster fire. So I'm grateful to have my animals and my wife, and I'm grateful to wake up in this beautiful place, not dope sick every day. Thank you.
yes.
Now, that one sounds like she knows what she's talking about with recovery too, because sometimes it is the little things that you're grateful for because we didn't have those whenever we were going through it. Some of us didn't, but I don't, even if we had it, I had some of those things in my addiction, but I wasn't grateful for them. So,
Now we
so
got
thank you.
Erica P, who writes, my newfounded ability to let go of things outside of my control. Let's.
Oh,
Oh, Erica!
open the door. Don't worry about your nose getting broke. Oh,
Uh,
that is something to be grateful for right there, because I think that goes into resentments. A lot of our resentments are things that we think we can control, but we really can't. Like, I'm mad at that guy for slamming the door in my face. Well, I can't control that he did that. Even if I were to do something about it, it's not going to change that it happened, right? So
yeah, because even like you say, you take matter into your own hands and break his nose, your nose is
ah,
still broken.
and I'm going to jail
For assault. He had an accident, you had an assault.
Good point. And our last one, Taylor V, says she's grateful for Lizzie, her dog, friends, family, traveling, concerts, and other dogs. So I think that's a great little list right there. And music. What is it about music? People are grateful for it. So what is your... real quick. Thank you everyone for your gratitude list. If you would like for us to read off what you're grateful for on the next episode, then go ahead and send us a link, or don't send us a link. Why don't you go to retrievingsanity.com or look us up on Facebook and send us your gratitude list, or if you want to be on the show, just send us a message, let us know, and if you want to share your story, same thing. But anyway, Simba, as you were saying with music, and it helps you with recovery.
Because okay, so like step 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity.
Correct.
When we use the term God or power, I was done. In the beginning of my early days in recovery, I was done right there. But I had a sponsor who dumbed it down for me, and he's like, "Don't think of power. Think of what's another definition for power. Another definition for power is influence. That a higher influence could, help you come back to sanity." And I don't know, for some reason, the fact that he told me influence versus power, I didn't make it this mighty thing. I started it off as like something that can influence me to do better, and now I see that as like my higher power always talking to me with any type of influence that I feel influences me in the right direction, and what I would my morals seem to my moral compass seems to be the right direction. This is my higher power talking.
Yeah, I can see
So
that. That's good.
dogs, friends, traveling, anything that has a great influence on me. And I'm actually glad that they list these things, because it just kind of shows me how much I overlook too in my own personal life.
Yeah, because you're around dogs all day.
Yeah. See, I could have hold a resentment on this and never want to be around another dog, or just the fact that I was like, I literally, the second I heard it popped, I was like, I shouldn't have done that. Yeah. And then he got away, so that's why I was like, I really shouldn't have even done that. So
yeah. Oh man, but I mean, I got to say one thing I'm also really grateful for: this podcast and you. Yeah. Because I mean, it all started as ideas, and then here we are.
Bro, it
I'm
started off as
grateful.
conversations. Remember, we would always say we need to start recording our conversations, and then
We
we
did.
started doing it. Well, you started recording your conversations.
Yeah, I mean, those early episodes, man, I look back and I'm just like, but I'm grateful for them because if I didn't sit there and do them, we wouldn't be where we are right now. So it's kind of like looking back at old high school pictures or middle school, and I'm just like, well, actually, not too much. Emo never dies. So
It never lived.
I don't know if I should be upset or not.
You shouldn't. You're in recovery.
But seriously, and I'm also really grateful for anyone and everyone that's ever even listened. So if you're listening right now, I'm grateful for you, even if it's just 2 seconds.
Just the interest and the time. Even if you listen 2 minutes, you've listened to 2 episodes. It means a lot. You know.
It means more than you'll ever know. And so, on behalf of Retrieving Sanity, I think it's safe to say that we are grateful for you, the viewers and listeners, and we just hope that we can provide great content for y'all. So, um, you got any last words of wisdom today?
Bro, yes, don't try to lasso a running dog. It is like an 18-wheeler coming at you.
You don't gotta yell in the mic.
My bad. Last wise words. Actually, I have a wall that people put stuff on my locker that literally they caption it great words of wisdom from Simba. And then we're not gonna make it. What happened? I wouldn't take that if I were you. And did somebody say Brittany?
I don't think we're going to use those. I'm just joking. But
I guess emotional intelligence is letting yourself know you have to. You know, it's not necessarily telling yourself you've been through this, you've been through worse, you can make it. It's just telling you like you can deal with this, but you gotta keep moving. You know,
yeah,
hold the resentment if you must for a while, but you gotta go.
yeah. Kind of like you're going to be okay. You have no choice.
Yeah.
And so one thing that I've always found that's extremely humbling is finding a place where I can view the whole night sky, like every single star. It really puts me in my place, going like, yeah, my problems aren't that big at all.
Yeah.
But
mine was always the ocean. Like every time I went through like a huge thing, going to the ocean and like, just seeing the waves roar, I'm like, yeah, I'm strong, but you're stronger.
I want to say thank you again for listening on WDJY FM. And also, again, check us out on retrievingsanity.com. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and just come along for the journey that is Retrieving Sanity. So, until we see you next time, Shalom.
Bye.